Hello, drama lovers. Welcome to my Young and the Restless official channel. I hope you're all having an amazing day. Before we dive into today's content, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and show some love by giving this video a like up. He tells Sally that Phyllis simply wants to discuss all of her ideas for the business when they sat down. They played a role in helping her get through her tragedy. She probably wanted to stop by and express her gratitude to him for saving her life as well. Billy, who downplays his involvement in the rescue, acknowledges that he can't stop imagining what might have occurred if they had arrived 5 minutes later. Isn't it a cosmic law that you become inextricably linked to someone when you save their life? Sally queries. There's an old movie about that, Billy jokes, where the guy had to go into hiding from the person he saved. Sally is able to comprehend that he was merely being Phyllis's close buddy. He will own that he is a little concerned because Phyllis's worst is not yet done. The person who did this to her is still at large, and his only hope is that he be apprehended and imprisoned. Billy believes that something broke inside Phyllis when she was held with Sharon, regardless of how resilient she may be. Billy reveals that Phyllis wants everyone to believe she's tough while he pours rinks. She still bleeds like everyone else, even though he is certain that she does. Over the years, they have experienced both positive and negative situations. They have always made better friends or coworkers than anyone else since they are so similar. Billy no longer wants to discuss Phyllis. He starts making suggestions for things they can do that evening because he wants to concentrate on Sally. Dinner can wait, she replies after a few kisses. Nick's strategy to assist Phyllis. Sleeping fitfully on her sweet sofa, Phyllis imagines herself and Sharon locked in the clinic. The sound of a knock on her door wakes her up. Summer and Nick are standing there when she opens it. They observe that she appears unkempt. I'm fine, Phyllis maintains. It is not necessary for them to check on her every 2 minutes. When she confesses to having a dream, they believe it was about a madman locking her up. Phyllis rubs her face and begs them to let her sleep again. They shouldn't worry, she needs to sleep. She complains, I don't need to be babysat. They push in as she tries to close the door. They believe she should stop acting like everything is normal and want to help. She needs assistance. According to Phyllis, she was examined by the EMS and found to be in good health. Although Nick tells her that she was poisoned, his ex maintains that she is now okay. Phyllis keeps saying she's okay, but this is really annoying. You're not aware of my struggles, she shouts at them. She was not only imprisoned, but also assisted in captivity by someone she hates. After all the pain Sharon has caused her family, who is sick enough to make her save her life. According to Nick, the police are searching for hints. Phyllis encourages him to go grasp his other ex's hand when he mentions that Sharon went through the same thing she did. Nick hopes they all recover. Nick encourages her to rely on those who love her. Phyllis starts to sob and shout. She pleads with Nick to halt her feelings as he hugs her. After Phyllis settles down and sits down, she apologizes for being such a blubbering idiot. Being vulnerable is acceptable, according to her kid. Sharon and Phyllis did change, Phyllis acknowledges. They were designed to keep each other sane and save one another's lives. That is a good thing, in Nick's opinion. Phyllis shakes her head and says that for the majority of her adult life, Sharon has been her nemesis. They put a lot of effort into conspiring against one another. Now that she doesn't have those emotions, what does she do? Do the emotions simply fade? How should she interpret this? Her daughter informs her that no one expects her to return to her regular life right away while she blows her nose. Even though she knows she owes Sharon her life, Phyllis still feels bad about what she did to their family. She is informed by Nick and their daughter that it is merely a first step toward change. Phyllis believes that everyone believes she is repressing her rage. Sharon is not a monster, she will acknowledge. She sighs and acknowledges she's the same screwed up, complicated human being as I am. She's not sure if she'll be able to let this go or acknowledge that again. Nick gets an idea from this. Daniel and Sharon talk about her experience. Daniel enters the society. As he is about to place his order at the bar, he notices Sharon sitting by herself and goes up to inquire about her well-being. His mother told him what had happened at the clinic, he says, and while it sounded awful, at least it's over and they're both safe now. Daniel, it's not over, unfortunately. Not by any means, Sharon replies. Daniel joins her and says he understands how difficult it must be for her to feel secure. Sharon acknowledges feeling tense. He is certain that healing from the trauma will require time. She acknowledges that she is just managing things moment by moment. It appears that the irony of the situation was deliberate. Their captor may have wanted them to learn about one another's humanity or something. Perhaps they were meant to figure out how to forgive one another. She gets the impression that their kidnapper was attempting to help them. Daniel remarks, although Sharon wouldn't refer to it as a favor, it seems that the goal was to instruct them. For her, it worked. Giving Phyllis credit for saving her comes naturally to her. They were able to tolerate one another to a new degree by the end. Daniel questions whether Sharon has truly moved over her animosity against his mother or if she is merely making a concerted effort to appear as though she has. He'll confess that he doesn't believe emotions can fade so fast. She will acknowledge that she is appreciative, indignant, and perplexed. Occasionally, all in the same hour. It's exhausting and difficult to get rid of the debris she carries around. Where all of this leaves her is unknown. Sharon hopes that his detente with his mother will endure and that this will mark the beginning of some healing for both of them. Although she doesn't ask for forgiveness, it's what she feels. According to Daniel, they are traveling to the same destination in different ways. The one lesson he has learned from this tough period of his life is to find the positive in the midst of the bad. Staying in the dark is bad for everyone, so if she and Phyllis can do that, they should. Sharon is certain that Phyllis is resilient and that they shouldn't be concerned about her. Daniel acknowledges that they don't talk about Heather much anymore when she asks about Lucy, but he occasionally notices her staring off into space and knows that's who she's thinking of. Daniel is aware that the murder was not committed by Sharon. She reminds him that she is the one who framed him. For us, it's complicated, he acknowledges. Nick texts her to invite her to Crimson Lights. She tells Daniel she's happy they spoke as she stands up to leave. It was an excellent one. He concurs. She leaves after they exchange uncomfortable smiles. Victor is updated by Michael. Michael informs Victor at the GCC that the spies they have planted at Plassade/Jabbet are well established and undiscovered. Since the merger is still under progress, not much can be learned. There will be more to tell after it is finished. Victor adores succeeding in business, and Michael wishes he could enjoy anything as much. They laugh about that and toast. Victor shifts the conversation to Aristotle Dumas and inquires about his activities. It appears from the information the lawyer has uncovered that Dumas has no interest in Winters and that his interest in Damien is, at most, accidental. Victor is surprised by that. Michael will continue to delve. The Newman wants nothing to catch him off guard. Michael wonders, why the sudden interest? His supervisor explains that he is intrigued by this abrupt reappearance. He acknowledges their past. Michael prods, it would probably help if I knew what kind of connection you had with this man if you want me to keep investigating him. According to Victor, they have frequently fought for the same businesses. Interesting fights have been fought by them. Sometimes Dumas prevailed, and other times he did. Victor would set up a trap for Dumas, but he would never fall for it. Anyone who would do that with Victor, Michael surmises, probably shouldn't be disregarded. You're right, concurs Victor. He must know why Dumas has returned. His approach is to enter, strike, and then leave. Michael believes this has nothing to do with assisting Devon and Lily. Victor adds that by putting Dumas in his crosshairs, they may assist him. A turn, Sally informs Billy that his phone has been vibrating for 5 minutes when he gets home with Taiko for supper. She tells him while glancing at his phone if it's Dumas, Aristotle. Hessa and Daniel talk about Maria. Tessa comes over to the bar where Daniel is still sitting at society. He's surprised to see that she's blonde now. He appears to be a man in need of a conversation partner, she says. Earlier, she caught him speaking to Sharon. That's always odd, he acknowledges. She claims that Sharon's desire for forgiveness is obvious. Daniel informs Tessa that although he has repeatedly told Sharon that he understands that she is not to blame for what happened, this does not equate to forgiveness. He's trying to be more forgiving, especially in light of what transpired with her and his mother. They discuss how Maria is coping with everything. Tessa admits that she hasn't been talking to her about it since she has been engrossed in her work. Daniel offers to speak with her because he knows that's difficult. Although Tessa is aware that they are all just collateral damage from bad people doing bad things, she still asks herself what she could do. When you are in the midst of it, it is difficult to see that. She constantly offers him a lot to think about, and Daniel enjoys that. He feels less insane when he talks to her. Maria is really fortunate to have her. Phyllis and Sharon agree to speak. In anticipation of hearing about the abduction, Sharon dashes into Crimson Lights. She discovers Nick, Phyllis, and Summer seated at a table. He says it's time for her and Phyllis to have a conversation about what transpired and what comes next. Sharon believes this to be a ruse. Although she agrees with Nick, Phyllis claims that it was all his idea. Actually, the only person she can talk to is Sharon. Sharon is surprised by this. Phyllis acknowledges that she is shocked that she consented to this. They consent to speak, despite the possibility of unpleasantness. When Summer asks her mother whether she is certain of this, Phyllis is certain. Nick tells Summer that he doesn't think this will work out after the two adversaries go outside to the terrace. According to the Young and the Restless teasers for the week of March 24 to 28, after Phyllis Summers finds out a secret, Sally Spectro will seek Billy Abbott's confession. Here's what Wine and our fans should anticipate from Victor Newman's upcoming announcement. Victor will start by updating Michael Baldwin on his past interactions with Aristotle Dumas, which included a mild business dispute. Victor will be concerned by Aristotle's current objective because he and Aristotle used to compete for firms. Victor will devise a trap that might entice Aristotle out into the open since you will be able to detect trouble. Devin Winters and Lily Winters will be involved in Victor's plan, but if he discovers what's going on, Devin might not want to be involved. It appears that Aristotle will temporarily have the upper hand, even though Victor usually stays a few moves ahead of the game. Aristotle may also be the person Billy spoke with on the phone in Paris, as he will contact Billy via telephone. In any event, when Sally sees the name of Aristotle Dumas as the caller, she will become intrigued. Billy should eventually have to evade some queries as a result. During a heated discussion with Nick and Summer Newman, Phyllis will lose her composure, but they will not give up on helping her. It will be somewhat helpful as Phyllis begins to process her experience and talks openly with Sharon Newman. Later on, though, Phyllis will still feel the urge to hide in the park from her family. Billy will want to help Phyllis, but it appears that she will believe that her current best course of action is to work. Following Billy's disclosure of his covert Aristotelian scheme, Phyllis has an opportunity to comment and provide guidance. Conversely, Sally can feel as though she isn't being informed. Sally can encourage Billy to confess to her as well by reminding him that he stated he didn't want secrets between them. Sally will discover that Billy lied when he said he was letting go of his revenge goal after hearing about all the Aristotle drama. It appears like Sally will force Billy to acknowledge that he still wants the Newmans to pay. Kyle Abbott and Claire Newman will break the rules and do something bold together, while Jack Abbott and Nikki Newman find a reason to argue. Victor will later make an announcement that surprises his loved ones. Will this be connected to Victor's Aristotelian trap or another scheme he has in mind? He will engage Chelsea Lawson in a friendly argument about his favorite chips once more while they indulge in some home bliss with Adam Newman. Sharon will provide Tracy Abbott with some clues at the coffee shop that will enable her to make sense of Alan Laurent, also known as Martin Laurent. It appears like Tracy will suspect that Alan is actually Martin and that he was in charge of the entire kidnapping operation at Havenhurst because she will mourn at his deceit. After Tracy tells Jack about it, he will try to protect his sister and make some unsettling guesses about what Alan might do next. Naturally, if Alan runs into Ashley Abbott in Paris, another sister might be in danger, so that's something to consider. According to spoilers for The Young and the Restless, the week of March 24 to 28 will see some shocking developments, so stay into the CBS serial opera. Billy and Sally sit down and he explains Phyllis just wanted to talk about all the ideas she had for the company. They are part of what got her through her ordeal. He assumes she also wanted to come by and thank him for saving her life. Downplaying his role in the rescue, Billy admits he can't stop thinking of what would have happened if they got there 5 minutes later. Isn't it some sort of cosmic rule that when you save someone's life you are bonded to them forever? Sally asks. Billy jokes there's an old movie about that where the guy eventually has to start hiding from the person he saved. Sally can understand he was just being a good friend to Phyllis. He'll admit that he's a little worried. The worst isn't over for Phyllis. Whoever did this to her is still out there and he can only hope that he's found and locked up. No matter how tough Phyllis may be, it seems to Billy that something cracked inside her when she was held with Sharon. As Billy pours drinks, he explains that Phyllis wants everyone to think she's tough. He's sure she is, but she still bleeds like anyone else. They've had their moments over the years and not all good ones. They are a lot alike, and that's why they've always made better friends or colleagues than anything else. Billy doesn't want to talk about Phyllis anymore. He wants to focus on Sally and begins suggesting things they can do with their evening. After some kisses, she says dinner can wait. Nick's plan to help Phyllis. As Phyllis fitfully sleeps on the sofa in her suite, she dreams of being trapped in the clinic with Sharon. She wakes up at the sound of someone rapping on her door. She opens it and finds Summer standing there with Nick. They notice she's looking disheveled. "I'm good," Phyllis insists. She doesn't need them checking in on her every 2 minutes. When she admits she was having a dream, they assume it was about her being locked up by a maniac. Rubbing her face, Phyllis asks them to let her go back to sleep. She needs her rest and they don't need to worry. "I don't need to be babysat," she protests. As she tries to shut the door on them, they push in. They want to help and think she needs to stop pretending things are normal. She should get help. Phyllis explains the ants checked her out and she got a clean bill of health. Nick reminds her she was poisoned, but his ex insists that she's good now. Phyllis repeats that she's fine, but this is all frustrating. "You don't know what I'm going through." She yells at them. Not only was she held captive, but she was held captive with someone she despises. Who is sick enough to force her to save Sharon's life after all the suffering she's caused her family? Nick says that the police are looking for clues. When he brings up Sharon going through the same thing she did, Phyllis urges him to go and hold his other ex's hand. Nick wants them all to heal. Nick urges her to lean on the people who care about her. Phyllis begins screaming and crying. As Nick holds her, she begs him to make how she feels stop. Once she calms down a little and sits, Phyllis apologizes for acting like a blubbering idiot. Her daughter says it's okay to be vulnerable. Phyllis admits that she and Sharon did change. They were made to save each other's lives and keep each other sane. Nick thinks that's a good thing. Shaking her head, Phyllis explains that Sharon has been her enemy for most of her adult life. They spent so much energy plotting against each other. What does she do without those feelings now? Do the feelings just go away? How is she supposed to process this? While she blows her nose, her daughter tells her no one expects her to immediately resume a normal life. Phyllis can see she owes Sharon her life, but still resents what she did to their family. Nick and their daughter tell her it is just a step to changing. Phyllis assumes that everyone thinks she's holding on to her anger. She'll admit that Sharon is not a monster. "She's the same screwed up, complicated human being as I am," she admits with a sigh. She's not sure she'll be able to admit that again or let this go. This gives Nick an idea. Daniel and Sharon discuss her ordeal. Daniel walks into society. He's about to order at the bar when he spots Sharon sitting alone and approaches her, asking how she's doing. He explains that his mom filled him in on what happened at the clinic. It sounded horrible, but at least it's over and they're both safe now. Unfortunately, it's not over, Daniel. Not by a long shot. Sharon says. Joining her, Daniel says he knows it must be hard for her to feel safe. Sharon admits she's on edge. He's sure it will take time to recover from the trauma. She admits she's only handling it moment by moment. The irony of the whole thing seems to have been intentional. Their captors seem to want them to discover each other's humanity or something. Maybe they were supposed to find a way to forgive each other. Daniel comments that she makes it sound like their captor was trying to do them a favor. Sharon wouldn't call it a favor, but the point seemed to be to teach them something. It worked for her. She has no trouble giving Phyllis credit for saving her. By the end, they reached a new level of tolerating each other. Daniel wonders if Sharon has really let go of all the hostility she has for his mom or if she's only trying really hard to pretend she has. He'll admit that he's skeptical that feelings can disappear so quickly. She'll admit that she's grateful, angry, and confused. Sometimes all within the same hour. It's hard to get rid of the debris she carries around, and it's exhausting. It's unclear where all this leaves her. Sharon hopes the detente with his mom will last, and this can be the start of some healing for them too. She's not fishing for forgiveness, but that's what's in her heart. Daniel says they are on separate paths to the same place. The one thing he's been able to take away from this challenging time in his life is to look for the good moments amid the darkness. If she and Phyllis can do that, they should. Staying in the dark isn't good for anyone. Sharon is sure that Phyllis is strong and they don't need to worry about her. When she asks after Lucy, Daniel admits that they don't talk about Heather much anymore, but sometimes he will see her staring off and knows that's who she is thinking of. Daniel knows that Sharon isn't responsible for the murder. She reminds him she is responsible for framing him. It's complicated for us, he admits. Nick sends her a text, asking to meet at Crimson Lights. As she gets up to exit, she tells Daniel she's glad they talked. This was good, he agrees. They have awkward smiles and she exits. Michael updates Victor. At the GCAC, Michael explains to Victor that the spies they have placed at Glissade/Jabbit are well entrenched and undetected. There's not much information to be gleaned since the merger is still ongoing. Once that's done, there will be more to report. Michael wishes he could enjoy anything as much as Victor enjoys winning in business. They toast and chuckle about that. Victor changes the topic to Aristotle Dumas and asks what he's up to. From what the lawyer has managed to dig up, it seems like Dumas has no interest in Winters and his interest in Damien is incidental at best. That surprises Victor. Michael will keep digging. The Newman doesn't want to be surprised by anything. Why the sudden interest? Michael asks. His boss explains that this sudden resurfacing has piqued his curiosity. He admits they have a history. If you want me to keep investigating this man, it would probably help if I knew what kind of connection you've had with him. Michael prods. Victor explains that they have often competed for the same companies. They have been in some interesting battles. Sometimes he won, and sometimes Dumas did. Dumas would suddenly appear and would never take the bait Victor set for him. Michael guesses that anyone who would pull that with Victor probably shouldn't be ignored. You got that right, agrees Victor. He needs to know why Dumas is back now. It's his style to come in, hit, and then disappear. Michael assumes this isn't about helping Lily and Devon. Victor explains they can help them by putting Dumas in his sights. A twist. When Billy returns home with takeout for dinner, Sally tells him that his phone has been buzzing for 5 minutes. Looking at his phone, she informs him that it's Aristotle Dumas. Daniel and Tessa discuss Maria. Still at society, Daniel sits at the bar as Tessa wanders over. He's taken aback to notice she's now a blonde. She says he looks like a man who needs someone to talk to. She saw him talking to Sharon earlier. He admits that's always strange. She says it's clear Sharon wants forgiveness. Daniel tells Tessa he keeps telling Sharon that he knows what happened was not her fault, but that's not the same as forgiving her. He's working on the forgiving part, especially after what happened to her and his mom. They chat about how Maria is handling all this. Tessa explains she's been burying herself in work and isn't opening up to her about it. Daniel is sure that's rough and offers to talk to her. Tessa keeps asking herself what she could do, but she knows they are all just collateral damage from evil people doing evil things. It's hard to see that when you're in the middle of it. Daniel appreciates that she always gives him a lot to think about. Talking to her makes him feel less crazy. Maria is very lucky to have her. Sharon and Phyllis agree to talk. Sharon rushes into Crimson Lights expecting news about the kidnapper. She finds Nick sitting at a table with Phyllis and Summer. He announces that it's time for her to sit down with Phyllis and talk about what happened to them and what happens next. Sharon assumes this is a trick. Phyllis says it was all Nick's idea, but she agrees with him. To be honest, Sharon is the only person she can talk to. This is a surprise to Sharon. Phyllis admits she's surprised she's agreed to do this. They agree to talk, even though it could get ugly. Summer asks her mom if she's sure about this, but Phyllis insists. After the two enemies step outside to the patio, Nick admits to Summer that he's not sure any good will come of this.